Good afternoon. Welcome to the Human Research Protection Program's Research Matters. I am Scott Myers, the Clinical Research Educator for UT Southwestern's Office of Research Regulatory Affairs, and I will be one of the moderators for today's session. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over some housekeeping items. If you have any questions for our presenters during today's session, please type them in the Q&A. One of the moderators will respond to you during the session, or we will address it at the end of the presentations. This session is being recorded, and you can watch it again right after it's finished by clicking on the Microsoft Teams live link in the email invitation. We'll also send you the slides via email. You can find the links to future meetings, slides, handouts, and past recordings of the HRPP's Research Matters on the website under Training and Resources page. We do provide a certificate of attendance for those who have logged in using a valid email address. If you do not receive one via email, but should have, please send an email to hrpp@utsouthwestern.edu to request a certificate. Lastly, we want to hear from you. We use the information you provide to plan for future topics you would like us to cover during these sessions. You may also let us know how our speakers did and how our office is doing. So please take a few minutes to complete the survey to provide your feedback. You may access the survey using your phone via the QR code or your computer by selecting the link. We will also drop the link for the survey in the Q&A. Okay, so here is the agenda for today. First, Mayad Bird will provide updates on the transition from eIRB to UT Southwestern Ethos. We will then be hearing from members of the Regulatory Support and Monitoring team, and they will be providing brief overviews of the various programs they support. And we will conclude with an open Q&A session if time permits. So with that, I will turn it over to Mayad Bird.
So today I'm going to provide a few updates from the HRPP office. First up, just wanted to mention while we have the launch of the new Ethos system, one of the things we don't allow is for the investigator to select the level of review that's required for their submission. So because of that, we had to shuffle things around within the IRB office to be in line with this new setup within Ethos. So this is just a quick diagram to let you know kind of the flow of business items and that there's a team that's devoted to pre-reviewing your business items. Once the pre-review, similar to what we've done before, once the study or the item is ready for a next level of review, it will then be assigned to either the IRB as a designated member or IRB full board. So you'll notice that the designated member review equates to non-committee review within Ethos system, and IRB full board, which you're used to seeing in eIRB, is now the committee review. The investigator relations team is still going to be functioning as such. However, they're going to be more focused on activating protocols once they've undergone a green light approval process, and they will shift gears to be working on data and material transfer agreements. Next up, we have updates from Ethos. So as you know, we have started or launched Ethos back on December 23rd. Our first migration efforts were spent on migrating studies that met certain criteria. These were our full board studies. There were studies that were in draft submissions. There were studies that were in IRB staff review, and then studies that were fully activated. The migration time period for that wave or that first wave was December 23rd, 2024, and ended on January 24th, 2025. During that time, we migrated 1,042 studies. We then launched our second wave, which included some additional full board studies that were not quite ready to be migrated during the first wave, and then we migrated our Reliance studies. So those full board studies were studies that were recently activated or were in a status that were approved pending other approvals. And then again, we've got our Reliance studies. We initiated the migration on January 27th, and we are just a little over halfway done. We've done 430 out of 719 studies. So it's just some notes from Ethos as we work through the new system. Wanted to make sure you all were aware that for studies that were migrated and activated in the Ethos system between the dates of December 23rd through January 1st, those study only have personnel that fall into the following categories. They were the PO, the PAC, the regulatory contact, and the PI. So you may have to go to those studies and update your personnel if there are additional individuals working on the study. As a note, you can use the add and remove function within Ethos to include any personnel that were not included in that initial migration, ensuring that you include their credentials, their roles, responsibilities, location of activities, conflict of interest designation, and they can actually be uploaded. If you don't upload that information, that's okay. We will still use EIRB as the source of truth with study personnel. However, we will ask that at the time of continuing review that you update study personnel. Catching my slides up here. We have a memo available on our website, and this is the QRC code for that memo, where we basically say the same information, that you might need to go back and make some changes with your study personnel. However, we will, and for compliance purposes, auditing and inspection purposes, we will hold EIRB as the source of the truth. So next, we identified that when we turn the switch on for the new Ethos system, that the translation request activity within Ethos was not quite ready. So we're asking individuals who require Form Z or translations to use the Form Z or the old process where you complete the Form Z, you identify the forms that need to be translated, and then you email those documents to hrpp@utsouthwestern.edu. The activity itself is undergoing some additional coding and will be available. Of course, we'll keep the research community aware as soon as that becomes available. Management of your study. I'm just going to go ahead and get all of these little slides on here. So what I want to make sure you all are aware of is if your study has not yet migrated, meaning if you log into EIRB and it does not say migrated, then you're going to manage the study within the EIRB system. As a note, there's expedited studies that are still in EIRB. There are some studies that maybe had business items pending that did not allow us to migrate the study. So those will be in EIRB. And then the exempt studies will not migrate. They are going to be managed in EIRB. Studies that state migrated as the status in EIRB, but they're not yet visible in Ethos. That just means that the automatic migration has happened, but we're manually migrating all the other information that didn't come over. So it's not visible because it hasn't been fully migrated. If you have items that you need to submit, for example, if continuing review is coming up due, if you have a reportable event, or if you need to make an urgent change, we're going to ask that you use our REDCap survey designated for urgent requests. If your study is fully activated in Ethos, then you're going to manage your study within the Ethos system. Some of the challenges that we've kind of faced as we have migrated studies within the system, again, taking that burden off of the research community, is bugs. So we know that the system has a few bugs, but if you experience bugs or anything that you think may be wrong or prevents you from moving forward with an application or an activity that you normally would be allowed to do, we ask that you contact the HRPP office. And it's best when you contact us to provide a protocol number or a link to the protocol or link to whatever you're experiencing. And if you're not able to do that, to include a screenshot of what you see, because our views may be a little bit different. And what our office is going to do is investigate whether we can replicate that issue, whether it's a coding issue, whether it's an educational opportunity. Maybe we designed the system in this fashion and this is now an opportunity to educate. So if it's something that we need to fix, we will obviously work with our with RAS and our vendor on the process. If it's something more internal in terms of, okay, we've designed the system this way, we need a tip sheet or some kind of help guidance document to help researchers understand what the process is, that's where we would talk about the process building. And then obviously we'll share the information with you all in terms of education. So again, if you have issues that come up when you're working with the new Ethos system, please use the eirb@utsouthwestern.edu email address to identify those issues. And remember to give us information such as protocol numbers, screenshots, or links so that we can kind of quickly assess the item where you might be experiencing the issue. Access. I think this is an item that we've heard quite a bit about, is access, but the access to Ethos is a little different than what we've experienced or what you all have experienced with EIRB. And sometimes that access is preventing you from doing your daily work. So contact us at the same email address, the eirb@utsouthwestern.edu, and it'll be again helpful for you to have screenshots so that we can see what you see again, because our permission levels are different and we may not see what you see. So it'll be helpful to have a screenshot of what you're experiencing. And what I have to mention is that we have to be very careful about just granting broad access to Ethos, because one, it might be something where you have access to information that you should not have access to, as the IRB works with proprietary information, confidential research. We might be working with those types of things. So it's really important that we don't give too much access and limit to what you need to actually carry out your job functions. But obviously we want to make sure that it's enough such that you can continue to work on your job functions. I want to also note that there has been an issue that has been identified, the CRUs or department division chair approval process. Those individuals, ancillary reviewers, and performance sites, you're not able to see modifications, reportable events, and continuing reviews. We know that this is an issue. Please be patient with us. We are working with RAS to get that fixed. We've actually elevated that issue to an urgent priority 1. So more information to come, and we'll share when that has been updated, when you can test that out and see if you are able to see the modifications and all other business items related to a study based on your permissions. So our next steps in with our Ethos and implementing Ethos is that we're going to go through our wave 2, which is going to include the expedited studies. As a side note, we've mentioned this in some education or some information before, that some of the exempts, or actually expedited studies that fell into the category of reviewing retrospective records, those are going to be migrated or transitioned to exempt studies, and they're not going to migrate to the new system. Then our next wave after that is going to be wave 3. This is going to be studies that remain in EIRB because they've got something pending on them and they could not actually get migrated over to the new system. And then we'll be working on the SIRB portal. And just a side note on the SIRB portal, the platform has been given to us. This portal has been given to us, but we want to make sure that Ethos is running as smoothly as possible before we open up the SIRB portal. We want to, like I say, work out all the bugs and the kinks before we actually get SIRB portal up and running. That's all that I have for IRB or HRPP updates. I'll turn things over to RSM. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kimberly Mapes. I'm the Director of Regulatory Support and Monitoring Division of the Office of Research Regulatory Affairs. The Regulatory Support and Monitoring Division houses the QAM office, which provides a wide range of monitoring and audit support services as well as the Regulatory Support Office, which provides support for both CT.gov and investigators with IND and IDEs. It's been a while since we have presented in Research Matters, so today we just want to update you all with a brief overview of the services offered by both the QAM and the RSO office. We also have some new faces, which I would like to introduce, and of course, some very familiar faces. Starting with the RSO. Rasija Nambiar is a regulatory scientist on the RSO team and the primary contact for all of your CT.gov needs. Rasija has been in this role for several years and has a wealth of knowledge in this area, so please don't ever hesitate to reach out to her for any of your CT.gov needs. Natalia Hutchinson, also a regulatory scientist on the RSO team, who some of you may remember from the QAM team, has been in this role since November of 2023. She serves as the primary contact for sponsor investigator support with IND and IDE functions. We have Scott St. Martin. He is our senior regulatory analyst. Scott has a long history with UT Southwestern and our go-to for assisting the RSM with just about anything we throw at him. He's primarily been helping Rasija with CT.gov. However, he is always available to answer just about any questions you may have. I'll switch over to the quality assurance and monitoring team now. Manali Thakur, she is the QAM manager. Manali has been in this role since October of 2023, and she has been instrumental in continuing to grow and strengthen the QAM program. We have 3 regulatory monitoring analysts on the QAM team. Daryl Campbell Pierre. Daryl has been with the QAM office since November of 2023. William Ali. William has been with the QAM team since May of 2024. And Karen De La Fuente. Karen returned to UT Southwestern and joined the QAM team in October of 2024. All 3 RMOs bring with them industry monitoring experience and are extremely valuable members of our team. And with that, I will now pass it on to Manali.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, everyone. I'm Manali Thakur. I'm the QAM Office Program Manager, and apologies in advance for my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but we shall get through this together. Today, I will talk about what my team does, the monitoring visits we conduct, and the services we provide to our researchers. Our scope of post-approval monitoring spans to all research studies that are UT Southwestern IRB approved and involve human subjects enrollment. Next, we have sponsor investigator monitoring services that we provide on a fee-for-service basis to PIs that are IND or IDE holders. An integral part of sponsor responsibilities is to ensure monitoring oversight of research data. By utilizing our services, the PIs can delegate such responsibility to our QAM office, and we, in turn, will conduct periodic monitoring for the entire duration of their study. Moving on, we also provide support for external agency inspections or audits. External agencies could be FDA or study sponsors or any other regulatory entity that has oversight over your study. There is no fee associated with this service, and this is available to all researchers upon request. Last but not the least, our team also conducts periodic reviews of the IRB. We look at IRB board meeting minutes, approved and stamped study documents, IRB membership rosters, and FWA documentation. These reviews are conducted internally and go through a similar process of generating findings and drafting reports, just like how we have for our monitoring visits. Here I have listed all the different types of post-approval monitoring visits conducted by our team of regulatory monitoring analysts. Every quarter, selected studies are assigned to our analysts who then in turn reach out to the study teams to schedule the visit. These visits could be either remote or on-site. Our regulatory monitoring analysts, Daryl, VM, and Karen, will go over each one of these visits in more detail in the next few slides. Let's first talk about our external agency audit support services. We do request all study teams to please keep us informed of any audits or inspections that get scheduled or are expected to occur using this intake form link. You can also find this link on our website on the HRPP webpage under QA monitoring section. Once we are notified, someone from our team will reach out to schedule a remote meeting as soon as possible. We discuss the current status of your study, if this will be a for-cause or a routine inspection, and what support you already have, what support you need from us, and any questions that you may have. If you do request, our regulatory monitoring analyst will plan to arrive on site and conduct a rigorous full study documentation review to prepare you for this inspection. We will also provide templates, worksheets, or guidance documents to resolve any findings. Basically, we will prepare you to be inspection ready. During the inspection, our team can also remain available on site with you if you request for it and provide expert support for the inspector's inquiries. We strongly recommend you keep us in the loop with any new developments so we can provide proactive support also and maintain shadow records of this inspection. After the inspection, outcomes are communicated to appropriate leadership via our team. If a formal response to the inspection observations is needed, our experienced monitoring team can help with drafting the language, guide you through the timelines and contacts for submitting the formal response. I would say overall, our processes for this service are designed to be uniquely prompt, flexible, and detail-oriented to strive for highest standards and operational integrity. I will now pass this over to Karen to discuss our post-approval monitoring visits.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen De La Fuente. I am one of the regulatory monitoring analysts with the QAM team. Today, I am going to briefly discuss not-for-cost monitoring visits. Next slide, please. Not-for-cost visits are routine on-site visits conducted by the QAM team. Studies reviewed are chosen without cost from a list of IRB-approved studies conducted at UT Southwestern. We aim to review all studies at least once every 5 years. During not-for-cost monitoring visits, the regulatory monitoring analyst will conduct a full study documentation review of the study. The regulatory monitoring analyst will review all study-related documents, both hard copy and electronic, including regulatory documents, subject study records, source documentation, and data files to ensure that the study is being conducted in compliance with institutional policies, state and federal regulations, and best practices for protecting human subjects. Study records maintained are accurate, complete, and current. Study team is reporting to the sponsor, FDA, and/or the IRB in a timely manner. That all study staff are appropriately trained and study tasks have been appropriately delegated by the investigator. Changes to the protocol are approved by the IRB and are reported to the sponsor, FDA, and/or the IRB as required. Next slide, please. After visit follow-up. At the end of the visit, the regulatory monitoring analyst will meet with the study team and share any findings and provide retraining, guidance, and resources as needed. If no findings are found, a no findings final report will be sent to the study team after the visit via email closing out the monitoring visit. If there are findings during the visit, a not-for-cost actions required report will be sent out via email to the study team summarizing all findings and proposed action plans. The study teams will have 2 weeks to resolve all findings listed in the action required report. If you have any questions while drafting your responses, please do not hesitate to reach out to the regulatory monitoring analyst that conducted the visit or via email to hrppmonitoring@ut-southwestern.edu. Once all findings have been resolved, the regulatory monitoring analyst will send the study team a final acknowledgement report and close out the monitoring visit. Next slide, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wiyam Ali. I'm one of the regulatory monitoring analysts with the quality team. Today, I'll be presenting two types of the visit we conduct at the quality team, which is the informed consent observation review and the pharmacy facility review we will review later. So the informed consent observation review, it's a focused review. We will only be observing the consent process at the site. We will not conduct like a full study review during this visit. So the conduct of this visit is to ensure site compliance with good clinical practice and protocol requirement when consenting the subjects for study participation. So the items that we will be evaluating during the visit, that the consent process is conducted in a private setting, that the ICF language is understandable by the subject participant. We ensure that the site team utilize the current approved version of the consent. And of course, during that consent observation, we ensure that the site discussed like the whole consent to the subject. They understand the purpose of the study, understand risk benefits associated, and then the patient agreed to participate. And then we ensure the good documentation practice on signature section, that both sides, the site representative and the patient both sign the consent and date the consent as well. And then we ensure that site understand that the need for documentation of the consent process. Next slide. After visit follow-up, after we complete the consent observation, we schedule a debrief meeting with the team to discuss any finding, if any, and provide them retraining if needed, any guidance, any resources as they request them. And if there are findings, we share with the site an action required report. We send it to the study team, summarizing all findings and proposed action plan. We provide them with a 2 weeks window period to resolve all findings. During that time, the regulatory monitoring analyst who conducted the visit will be available via Teams, via email to answer any questions that may raise like during the 2 weeks window. Once everything is resolved by the site, all like pending items, the QM monitor will share the final acknowledgement report along with the consent observation checklist and close out the monitoring visits. For any questions, like in general, we have listed our email, like the HRPP monitoring at utsouthwestern.edu for questions. Next slide. The other type of the visit that we conduct at the quality team is a pharmacy facility review. This is a focused visit as well. During that visit, we only monitor the pharmacy binder and the pharmacy location. We don't conduct like a full study documentation review. We recently implemented the pharmacy facility review to ensure the following: that the site is compliant with the protocol requirement in terms of investigational drug storage, dispensation, and accurate dosing as per protocol requirement. We ensure like the IDS pharmacies maintain accurate documentation of study shipments, receipt, temperature logs, accountability records, dispensation, and return. Next slide. Items to be checked during this visit, it's just we make sure like the pharmacy location matches the form FDA 1572 and other regulatory records. We discuss with the study team or the pharmacy team the workflow for the IP dispensation and return. We ensure like there's an accurate and complete filing and documentation for IP receipt, dispensation, return, and pharmacy manuals. We ensure that the site pharmacy team is trained on protocol, and there's a documentation on training on the protocol and pharmacy manual versions. We check the temperature records, and we check the IP physical features, and check the IP storage, and we ensure that IP storage condition conforms with the protocol requirements. Next slide. After the visits, we share findings no findings with the primary study coordinator and the pharmacy team responsible for the assigned study. And if there are any findings, we will share an action required report that have a 2 weeks window period to resolve all findings. So the monitor will be available during those 2 weeks window to answer any questions and provide assistance to the site in case of anything raised. Once resolved, the QM monitor will share the final acknowledgement report along with the pharmacy facility review report. That report just summarize everything discussed and checked during the visit, and then we close out, share them both with the site, and then we close out the monitoring visit. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Next presenter will be Daryl Campbell-Pierre. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daryl Campbell-Pierre, a regulatory monitoring analyst on the QAM team. And today I'll be discussing remote to on-site visit reviews, also known as ROVRs. The ROVR visits focus on providing guidance, oversight, and support for studies that have external monitoring services. We examine recurring deviations, non-compliant trends, and documented sponsor complaints that can lead to FDA audits. We empower study teams by providing tools, resources to help resolve any recurring deviations. Although we do know that study teams receive support from external services, ROVRs are utilized as a proactive support and improvement to ensure studies operate efficiently as possible. Next slide. ROVRs do have requested documents that are needed to check for recurring findings like outdated regulatory documents or missing study procedures. We also review sponsor comments and email communications. We will retrieve this insight by requesting documents such as sponsor monitoring visit reports, monitoring visit confirmation letters, follow-up letters, monitoring tracking logs, query logs, and correspondence with the sponsor and the site. Next slide. The ROVR process is separated into two parts. The first is a remote visit that lasts around 5 to 6 hours, reviewing the requested documents sent over by the study team. After the review, the RMA will schedule a debrief with the study team to discuss the findings. If no on-site visit is needed, a monitoring report will be generated depending on the findings. If an on-site visit is necessary, an RMA will come on-site to look at further regulatory and subject records. If the on-site visit is required, a discussion will be scheduled with the study team, and after all action items are resolved, a final report will be generated for that study team and sent out. Next slide. The next type of study services we offer is the sponsor investigator monitoring services, also known as SI monitoring visits. Sponsor investigator reviews are an internal monitoring service where we provide monitoring oversight for studies with primary investigators who hold an IND or IDE to ensure that studies maintain the Code of Federal Regulations and GCP guidelines throughout the study's lifespan. We focus our monitoring efforts on ensuring the right and well-being of human participants, ensuring safety by evaluating AEs and SAEs, ensuring reporting is accurate and verifiable, and that the study team is complying with the protocol, IRB, and regulatory guidelines. Next slide. The sponsor investigator will include periodic monitoring visits for study duration, a customized monitoring plan for your study protocol. Just to reiterate that all studies that have SI monitoring, the PIs will be IND and IDE holders with complex multi-interventional clinical trials. The trials can be either phase 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 studies, and the services will have a fee associated with them as well. To inquire for the SI monitoring services, please reach out to a QAM personnel, or you can reach out to Manali Tucker or Kimberly Mapes to retrieve more information to see how we can assist you in your study execution. And that will conclude my slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Hello again, everyone. I'm Manali, and we will cover more details on the next type of visit, for-cause monitoring visits. As the name suggests, these visits are scheduled for a cause, meaning that if you are contacted by our QAM team we have received a request to investigate in your specific research study. Typically, these requests are from whether a perceived or a confirmed ethical issue, study conduct issues, or a compliance violation allegation that is reported. Such requests may come to us from varied avenues. To name a few, it could be clinic department, a study team member, the IRB, an affiliated institution, a study sponsor, or a CRA, etc. I will say our reviews for such visits are very rigorous, often spanning from 1 day to multiple days, and involve either a focused review or a full study documentation review. The QAM team provides objective, non-biased, and factual reports on such investigations to the appropriate leadership committee, and any CAPA that is requested from study teams are expected to be handled at the highest priority. The focus for such for-cause visits is to ensure study conduct is compliant with protocol and subjects' safety, rights, and welfare are protected. Moving on, let's talk about a much lighter topic, study initiation reviews, or as we call them, SIRS. These reviews are conducted at very initial stages of the study start, that is before enrollment or within first few subjects enrolled. SIRS are designed specifically to keep an educational approach in mind. Our goal is to help study teams understand what is expected from them in terms of regulatory reporting, maintaining study documentation, and planning study workflows for smooth and compliant study conduct. We started doing these in 2023. However, we did take a pause to improve internal workflow design. Our plan is to have them up and running by mid-March this year. Just to highlight some new features with our upcoming update, moving forward, we will reach out to schedule SIRS for newly approved studies where PI is the IND or IDE holder. All other studies will be provided with a link to request an SIR if they want, but it will not be required. I also want to clarify any confusions that might be out there for these visits. Please note that if an SIR visit is scheduled or requested, it should not imply that the study teams need to wait on enrolling patients until this visit is completed. Please note, once you receive your IRB activation, you may begin enrollment. SIRS can be conducted both before or after enrollment. Our goal with SIRS is to make study teams build a very strong foundation from the outset to support both compliance and study success. Any questions, please reach out. You can also join us during open office hours. Our team is present on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we will be happy to assist you. I am now going to pass this over to Italia Hutchinson, a regulatory scientist within our RSM team.
Okay, thank you so much, Manali. My name is Italia Hutchinson. I'm one of the regulatory scientists that deals with the SI support and also the primary contact. And so today I will be discussing the IND/IDE sponsor investigators support. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so the SI support task is a lot more extensive, but this is just a brief overview of how the SI support assists with FDA submissions such as IND, IDEs, and expanded access. So this has been categorized in four topics: consultation, initial application, maintenance activity, and termination/withdrawal. So in regards to consultation, during this time, the IND/IDE or expanded access requirements are determined. We decide on an appropriate pathway, the direction in regards to the application process, and also the reporting timeline. Then we move on to the initial application. So the study team or the PIs by this time have received all of the documents, And so I review all of the documents with that study team and any corrections that is needed. Also assist with pre-IND/Q submission meeting requests. Maintenance and activity. So at this time, we assist with INDs, IDEs, or expanded access, lifecycle, maintenance activities, such as protocol amendment, safety reporting, or annual reports. And then lastly, termination and withdrawal. As I assist with final reports, termination, and withdrawal. I haven't had much of these up to date, which is good, but we also assist with those as well. Next slide. So this just briefly outlines other areas of support that the SI support is also responsible for. There's education, collaboration, and satisfaction. So in regards to education, we provide one-on-one/small group best practice training and resources, such as regulatory strategies, FDA application process, sponsor investigator responsibility, and reporting timeline. In regards to collaboration, we work closely with the IRB or other staff members to provide service for investigators, and also work closely with the QAM team to collect and maintain all required documents for INDs, IDEs, shadow file management. And then lastly, there's the satisfactory RSO satisfaction survey that's usually sent out after each submission is completed. And this is also a good guideline to see what is going well or working for the SI support for the study team to give their feedback. So that briefly is a brief summary of what the SI support team is responsible for. And if you have any questions, that's my email. You can always reach me there or my teams. And thank you so much. I'll now pass it on to Rasija.
Thank you, Italia. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rasija Nambiar from the RSO team and your primary point of contact for clinicaltrials.gov. In today's presentation, I'll briefly give an overview of clinicaltrials.gov, its requirements and timelines. For new attendees, this is an introduction, and for the returning ones, it's a refresher. I'll also introduce you to the new modernized PR system and share some latest updates. Next slide, please. So what is ct.gov? It is the largest online clinical trials registry and results database run by NIH, where investigators disclose key trial information to the general public to increase transparency. There are two interfaces. One is a public website for anyone to look up trials, and the other interface is a PR system for investigators to register and post results. The PR system has three basic functions: registering the trials, updating trial records, and reporting results. So who is responsible for ct.gov reporting? It is typically the sponsor, sponsor investigator, or a PI designated by the sponsor. At UT Southwestern, the expectation is the PI who initiated the study to be the responsible party, or when an IND IDE is involved, the sponsor investigator who holds the IND or IDE to be the responsible party. And why do you have to do the ct.gov reporting? It is required to register and report clinical trials on ct.gov, and the reporting here at UT Southwestern is mainly driven by the requirements from the FDA, NIH, CMS, as well as the publication policy, that is the ICMJE policy, if the investigator plans to publish. And here is the consequence of and penalties table for late registration or results posting. We covered this in greater detail in one of our past presentations, and I've included a link in the selected list of resources towards the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. The timelines for registration and results reporting are listed in this table here. Our HRPP website is also linked here, which includes resources like the ct.gov decision tree, step-by-step guidance for registration and results reporting, etc. If you have any questions or need assistance creating your PRS account, registering your study, addressing any PRS comments or stipulations, updating your records or results reporting, please email our RSO team at the address on the screen or book a free one-on-one consultation with us. Next slide, please. Now let's quickly go over the new modernized PR system and its key updates. With the aim to deliver an improved user experience on an updated platform, Modernized PRS was launched last year on August 28th. The classic old site was retired in June last year, but it is still available for you until all the bugs and errors within the new system are fixed, allowing the user to toggle between both the new and the old systems. The results section is still under development in the new system. They have only finished some of the sections, but some sections like the outcome measure sections, AE sections, and delayed results are still pending to be developed. To use these pending sections and to submit your results, you still need to go to the old classic site. If you encounter any issues while using the new PR system, ct.gov encourages users to provide them feedbacks using this yellow feedback button that you're seeing on your screen. So feel free to use it. Next slide, please. A selected list of resources and the links have been included in the slide here for your reference. And last but not the least, please pay close attention to the email notifications that you receive from me or my colleague, Scott Sen Martin, who is helping me in keeping the problem record numbers down. If your record appears on our problem record list for that month, we will be sending reminder notifications until it is resolved, along with some advance notifications for any upcoming or soon due results reporting. Thank you all for your time, and please feel free to reach out to me at the provided email for any ct.gov related questions. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, we have concluded the presentations, and now we're going to move into our open Q&A session. I invite you to submit any questions or comments that you may have at this time. I'll pause for a few seconds to allow you time to type up any questions. While we wait for you to get them typed up, I just want to remind you of the survey. If you could just spend a few minutes to complete the questions, we'll use the information to improve the content of these sessions and our presentation of them. We will also be able to see what areas we need to work on in the office and what areas we're excelling in. Thank you. Okay, I do see one question in the queue here. With migration going on, how is that affecting IRB review timelines? What are the current timelines for study reviews? Anyone want to answer that?
Sorry, I'm trying to find my mute button. So obviously with some staff dedicated to migration efforts and some staff devoted to keeping the queue going, we are looking at a little bit longer in terms of turnaround times for items getting through the system. We don't have the data just yet. We're working on our Power BI report, so we'll be able to get that information updated on our website as soon as we get those reports built out. some more information to come on that.
Okay, I don't see any other new questions. Is there anything that I may have missed that my team sees or would like to say? No? Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank our presenters, Mayad and the RSM team, and thank you all for attending today's session. Our next Research Matters is scheduled for March 18th. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your week.